Welcome, welcome. Well, I used the wrong one, huh? So I am thrilled that you are here today. So, Thursday, awesome day. Have you ever, see what I just did? Have you ever stopped mid sentence and, well, forgot what you were saying? Just mid sentence, you're talking to someone and they're looking at you and they're waiting for you to say whatever it is you have to say, and you can't remember what it was you were talking about. Not even what you were getting ready to say. And you're like, what was I just talking about? Or have you walked into a room, walked in there with purpose, ran right in there, knew what you were going in there for, right? And all of a sudden stood in the middle of the room and thought, what did I come in here for? Is that you? Any of you up there raising your hand? Any of these two make sense to you? Well, let me tell you something. That's not forgetfulness. That's not laziness. It's not distraction. That's overwhelm. And it's time that we start calling it what it is. So, today I am here for you to talk about. Well, there are a few things that I want to really talk about. I want to talk about the pattern because remember, we're talking about patterns. And so we're going to name the pattern, which we just did, overwhelm, or there are other names for it. And then we're going to actually talk about the hidden cost. What's the price that you're going to pay for living in this particular pattern? And then we're going to reframe that pattern because we don't want to stay there. If it's not serving us, if it's not helping us, we don't want to stay there. So then we want to deal with that, right? And then I always like to do a little practice or a little something with you to kind of help you notice it and reframe it, right? So that's what we're talking about today. Now, we already talked about some of the things that, well, not all of them, but some of the things that can happen to you. And the thing is, I want to call it out. Call it, we said that the pattern was overwhelm, right? It's not forgetfulness. Forgetfulness. I can't even talk today, but you're holding too many threads at once. Simple as that. And it's not your poor memory, but what it really is, let's name it, is cognitive overload. And you don't need fixing. I always say my women are not broken. They may have broken fragments in their life or different seasons that feel a little broke, but they're not broken. You just need room to breathe. And so, what do we do with this? What is it costing you? What is happening? Well, you're managing everyone's schedule, and I want you to see what this really looks like. So you can name it for what it is. So you're managing everyone's schedule, their feelings, their needs. You're holding space for your team at work. You're there for them. You're the one that they count on. So you want to be present with them. You're holding space for your family, you're holding space for your community. If you're active in your community and you care about others, you're holding that space too. And there's no margin in there for yourself. When's the last time you actually held space for yourself? Can you count it on one hand? Tell me. So, look, we're constantly multitasking. We're switching between roles without rest. We're jumping from a Zoom meeting, right, to a carpool, then to a dinner date or some inbox, some email or something that you all of a sudden have to actually. How many times have you been out eating and you picked up your phone? See, I'm gonna pick it up and you happen to glance because you got notifications and you happen to glance at your phone and you go, oh my gosh, I need to answer this. Oh my gosh. And there's someone sitting right in front of you that needs your attention and your presence. That's what I'm talking about. We're multitasking, we're switching, and we never get that time to let our brain rest. And by the time I finish this live, you're going to get a real good picture of exactly what I'm talking about because I'm going to just give you an example in plain language of how that happens. And so, our symptoms of being overwhelmed that we don't talk about is brain fog. irritability, and mental fatigue. And so that edge that you feel, that short fuse that always seems to be there, it's not your personality. That's not just the way you are. Have you always been like that? Probably not. But just more recently, that's overwhelm. It's that pressure that's building up and still pushing through like nothing's wrong. How you doing today? I'm fine. I'm fine. How often do you say that? You're not scattered. Hey, Gabby, thanks for showing up today. So you're not scattered, you're overstimulated, you're over functioning. You focus on too much and not focusing on too little. And look, you're absorbing too much. How much can you absorb? And you're trying to manage it all without any relief, no breaks, no time to just shift from one thing to another. You think that you're forgetful, but actually you're just over full. You're holding too much, not only for yourself, but for everyone else, trying to do things and be things and feel things for everyone else that you don't even know what you're doing or what you're feeling or have the time for it. And it's like your system has been on for days without reboot. And we always say, well, my phone's like that every time. But how many times have your phone shut down on you or didn't act correctly and you just simply turned it off? And it's been a month since the last time you turned it off. But just that simple action of turning it off allows it to do what they call a fresh reboot and let everything clear out so it can start functioning from a place of clarity. And that's what happens with our mind. That's what happens. You imagine that your body's dashboard, every warning light, everything is just flashing because you're still pushing on the gas to go. And it's overloading. That's a real vivid picture, huh? Can you imagine all these lights just flashing, all these different colors, and you're just trying to get it to stop? So that hidden cost is internalizing, you know, and forgetting words and losing focus. All of that is because you're working on overload, on overwhelm. And you blame your focus when it's your bandwidth that's depleted. You forgot a word and you blame yourself. How many times are you talking and I do it here even live. Sometimes there's a particular word that you want or that you know and it's in your mind but you just can't seem to bring it into focus. You can't seem to grasp that one word that you're looking for. It's because you're trying to think about the next thing you have to say or the next thing you have to do. And maybe an hour later, all of a sudden, that word that you were searching so hard for, it just pops into your mind. Too late. But now you know that you're okay because you did know that word. You were just overloaded and couldn't pull it out of that depth that you needed it. And then we deal with emotional impact of the guilt and the fear and the shame. Why can't I handle this? Becomes a daily little song in your mind. Why can't I do this? Why can't I handle this? Why is this so hard? This didn't used to be hard before. You can't focus and you're wondering, well, if you're slipping mentally, especially as you get older. And now we're finding that dementia is actually hitting people younger in age. And so you're wondering, because I can't remember, uh, is this dementia? Do I have Alzheimer's? I can't remember things or I forget things or I can't even remember her name. And a lot of times I would check that. I would go to my doctor if that's your real concern. But sometimes it's overload. And It's not a failure, and it's not a failure to check it out. It's what your brain does under too much pressure. And in this world of instantaneous whatever, and see, I'm searching for a word here, but always availability. In this world of always being available, we don't have time for ourselves or anything else. Brain fog is stress, not decline. Your nervous system is telling you it's had enough. I can't take any more. I can't take any more. And look, I'm not just talking from from Michelle. This isn't a Michelleism. This is scientific that the Mayo Clinic talks about cognitive overload and is progressing disruption from info and overwhelm. That's what cognitive overload is. And the Cleveland Clinic talks about brain fog, which is forgetfulness, confusion, trouble concentrating from chronic stress. And a lot of us are dealing with chronic stress because it never lets up. That's the difference. Stress can be good. There are good stressors, but chronic stress, that means you never get a break from that stress. You're not a machine. I'm sorry to inform you. This is not Stepford Wives. You're not a machine. You're not meant to be always on. Systems crash. Even machines crash. And when your system, your nervous system crashes, it doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you're maxed out. That's what it is. You are maxed out. Simple as that. And so get this. I was talking the other day and this metaphor really came to mind for me. And it's our brains are like a computer, a frozen computer. How many times have you been on anything? It could be Chat GPT, it could be your bank at your bank's website, it could be anything. And all of a sudden, you're trying to write something or do something, and your computer freezes and it just sits there. And then this little thing comes up and say, do you want to reload or wait? And you hit wait. And it's frozen and you're waiting. Or you start clicking your mouse, right? Click it, click it, click it, click it. And you think that's going to make it move faster because it's just not moving. And that's making it worse. Because what you're doing is you're telling your computer, here's another thing to do, and another thing to do, and another thing to do. And it doesn't get it. It's like, what do you want me to do? That is what happens to your brain. Because we have another thing to do and another thing to do. And so when you can't think of that word, when you can't remember why you walked in that room, your brain froze. It's like, what do you want me to do? Because I can just about bet. I want you to do this with me. I can just about bet if you really go back to that moment and you think about it. And if you think about when you were walking in the room, you didn't have to think about what your foot does, just one in front of the other. And while you were walking into that room with a purpose, you're also thinking about what am I going to have for dinner? Did I do the laundry or whatever it is? So your brain was processing, I'm walking. I got to remember this. I'm coming in here for something and it froze. It's like, which one of these thoughts, which one of these actions do you want me to do? Pretty clear, isn't it? That's what happened. The more clicks, it doesn't fix it. So what do? Remember that word I said a few minutes ago? You wait, you pause. Let your brain catch up. Let it take a breath. Hey, Bruce, welcome. I'm sorry to hear that. I am so sorry. Bruce says he was in a car accident. And so I would love to talk to you about that. But yeah, what do you do? So I want to tell you what reset looks like. It's taking your hand off the mental mouse and allowing that space. You don't keep hammering that keyboard or hitting that mouse to make it, you breathe, you reboot. Sometimes all you need to do is a reboot, which means it's a pause, and you come back on. And sometimes you need to clear completely. And you do what they call a hard reboot. You step away for a moment. And then you trust your system to come back online. It's time for you to reclaim your narrative. You're not failing. What you're doing is you're processing. And pausing isn't a weakness, it's wisdom. It's your reboot, whether it's a hard reboot or a soft reboot. But it's allowing your brain to step away for a moment and come back. So, before I go, I always give you a little tiny practice. And so here's your check-in question. Am I clear or am I just keeping up? And what this question does is it interrupts the performance cycle. It gives you a minute to think, am I clear or am I just pushing forward to keep up? And I want you to practice one full breath, one pause before you keep going. It doesn't need to be a vacation. I'm not saying stay there forever. I'm not saying stay there for a minute or 5. Just one breath can interrupt. 5 seconds of stillness interrupts the pattern. So start small. Let stillness becomes your new strategy. And let me check, see if there's anything I need to say. One of my old schoolmates is here. So I want to say thank you for being here. Thanks, Bruce, for being here. Thank you, Gabby, for being here. And before we leave, I just want to say, this is your nervous system waving its red flag. I wish I had a red handkerchief right now, but it's your nervous system waving your red flag and it's trying to protect you. One of the things that I love doing with my ladies is what I call the experience, and it's invitation only or referral. And so if this is something that you think that you want to know more about, just DM me reset. If you're ready to move through this overload gently and powerfully and interrupt it, I'm here for you. I hope that somehow today's live has really impacted, see, another word going, impacted you, because I was distracted. We do it every day. We experience it over day in a world of instant gratification. I can't wait to talk to you again next week for the Unlearning Break Time Live. And I'm Michelle O'Neill. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for being here with me, all of you who showed up. I really appreciate it and I'm honored. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.